Welcome to Storied Audio. I used to think one bad decision couldn't unravel an entire life. I was wrong. Her name was Lila, my best friend, and I betrayed her. Not in some small, forgivable way, but in the kind of way that poisons every memory that came before it. I told myself I had reasons at the time. Fear, jealousy, desperation. None of them matter now. All that matters is that I broke something that couldn't be fixed. After that, everything fell apart faster than I could keep up with. Lila cut me off completely. Blocked, erased, gone. Our mutual friends followed her lead. My job slipped through my fingers after I stopped showing up consistently. Bills piled up, eviction came, and suddenly I was sleeping in my car until I didn't even have that anymore. The streets are not kind, and hunger makes you do things you never imagined. So does cold and loneliness. Petty theft turned into riskier things. And then into a night where I got caught. Jail was exactly what you'd expect, and somehow worse. Loud when you wanted silence, suffocating when you needed air. The first few weeks, I kept my head down. Didn't talk. Didn't trust. Didn't think too hard about how I ended up there because the answer was always the same. Me. So when a guard called my name one afternoon and said I had a visitor, I almost laughed. Wrong person, I told her. She checked the clipboard. Nope. It's you. I hadn't spoken to anyone who cared about me in years. There wasn't anyone left to visit. My stomach twisted as I followed her down the hallway. When the door opened and I stepped into the visiting room, my heart stopped so hard it actually hurt. Lane. Lila's older brother. He looked the same and not the same. Still tall, still steady, still had that quiet way about him, but older now, sharper somehow. And those eyes. The same ones I used to avoid, because I was afraid he'd see right through me. Hi, he said. I just stared at him. What are you doing here? He shifted a little, like he wasn't sure how I'd react. I heard what happened. About everything. I swallowed. Yeah. That's not exactly a mystery. I wanted to see you for myself, he said. Why? The word came out harsher than I meant it to. He didn't flinch. Because I remember who you were before all this. And I don't think that person is gone. Something in my chest tightened. You don't know that. Maybe not, he said. But I'd like to help. I actually laughed then, a short, disbelieving sound. Your sister hates me. I know. And you still came here? I did. I didn't know what to do with that. Kindness felt foreign, like a language I'd forgotten how to speak. We talked for a while. Awkward at first, then easier. He didn't ask me to justify what I'd done. He didn't pretend it didn't matter either. He just listened. Before he left, he said, "Can I write to you?" I blinked. You want to? Yeah, he said simply. So we did. Letters became the best part of my days. His handwriting was messy, like he didn't have patience for neatness, but his words were thoughtful. He told me about his work, about fixing up his old truck, about random things like a stray dog that kept showing up at his place. I told him things I hadn't said out loud to anyone. About regret. About fear. About wanting to be someone better, but not knowing how. He never judged me. Not once. Somewhere in those pages, I started to feel human again. And the day I got released, I walked out of those gates with nothing but a small bag and a heart pounding so hard I thought I might pass out. I didn't expect anyone to be there. But he was. Leaning against his truck like it was the most natural thing in the world. You came, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Of course I did. I stood there for a second, frozen. You didn't have to. I wanted to. He opened the passenger door. I've got a spare room. You can stay until you get back on your feet. I hesitated. I don't know how to repay you. He gave me a small smile. You don't have to. Living with Lane was easy in a way I hadn't experienced in years. We fell into a rhythm. Dinner together most nights. Talking about our days. Sometimes just sitting in comfortable silence. He helped me find a job, drove me to interviews, never once made me feel like a burden. Months passed before I realized I was actually happy. One evening, I leaned against the kitchen counter and said, I think I can afford a small apartment now. If you're tired of me ruining your bachelor pad. He looked up from where he was drying dishes, eyebrows pulling together. You're not ruining anything. I smiled a little.
Still.
I should probably. I like having you here, he interrupted. My heart skipped. Yeah. He stepped closer, drying towel forgotten.
Yeah.
And I like you. More than just as a friend. I froze. You do. He nodded. Do you feel the same? I laughed softly, nerves bubbling up. I've had a crush on you since I was like 16. That made him laugh, a warm, surprised sound. Well, that's good to know. We started dating after that, and it felt right. Not rushed.
Not forced.
Just two people who had found something real after a lot of broken pieces. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I had a future. Until Lila found out. The day everything exploded, Lane came home to shouting. Real shouting. She was in the living room.
So was I.
Years of anger don't just disappear. Neither does guilt. Words turn sharp. Then sharper. And before I knew it, we were shoving each other like we were kids again. Only this time it meant something. Hey, stop. Lane tried to pull us apart and got caught in the middle, taking an elbow and a shove for his trouble. We both froze when we realized we'd hurt him. I'm sorry, we said at the same time. He sighed, rubbing his arm. Both of you.
Sit. Now. We did.
The conversation that followed wasn't magical. It didn't fix everything, but it wasn't a disaster either. Lila looked at me, eyes still guarded. I'm glad you're doing better, she said finally. And I'm glad he's helping you. My throat tightened. Thank you. I hope one day we can be friends again. She didn't promise anything, but she didn't shut the door either. And that was more than I deserved. After she left, Lane sank onto the couch and let out a long breath.
Well,
that was a mess. I laughed, shaky but real.
Yeah.
But not the worst mess. He smiled, opening his arms. I stepped into them without hesitation. And for the first time since everything fell apart, I felt like maybe, just maybe, some things could still be rebuilt. Subscribe for more audio stories.